welcome to your community and to speak to a lot of people here present. And first of all, I bring greetings from the Nigerian Azure community to everyone. My name is Imo Etuk. I am one of the leaders in the Microsoft Azure Nigeria community. I am a Microsoft certified trainer and I'm a Microsoft most valuable professional. I'm focusing on Azure category. So I will be your speaker for today's section. Today's section is titled Understanding Microsoft Azure Cloud Concept. So I will proceed to share my screen. Please confirm if you can see my screen. So, can you all see my screen? Okay, right, no problem. Okay, so we proceed. We've been talking around Microsoft Azure for a while, and it has been since year 2015 or thereabout. So we really must start from what the concept is, understanding what the concept is. That is why this section is very peculiar to beginners, to people that are beginning to start up in the cloud. And even if you are a professional, it's also necessary that you understand the concept first, or maybe refresh your memory. And someone is raising his or her hand. Can I hear you out? So we move on to the first thing first is, what is this cloud computing? Because we are talking about Microsoft Azure. We're also as well talking about the general cloud computing concept as a whole. Cloud computing is a concept that exists before cloud providers such as Microsoft Azure or Microsoft itself. So we must understand what cloud computing is. When you talk about cloud computing, it's something that the first thing that okay, let me read out the agenda. Apologies. My connection handle is online. If you wish to connect with me on Twitter and LinkedIn, they are there and on the screen. So we move down to the agenda. We're going to be looking at introduction to general cloud computing. We're also going to be looking at what is Azure cloud computing fundamentals. And we also play around Azure Portal, get to understand how it looks like and how we can feel it to our own benefit. We also get to understanding the shared responsibility model in Azure. We are going to also understand Azure cloud models, what are there, and describe consumption-based pricing model. And then we'll demonstrate some of the things. And there's a knowledge check section for this section. So heading down to the agenda 1, introduction to general cloud computing. Cloud computing, as we know, when you have the access to accessing your resources, like resources such as applications and its services. Its services in the sense that, take for instance, Microsoft 365, which is a cloud-based software as a service solution, is being accessible via cloud. All the things you do is being stored on your OneDrive. All the stuff you do, and that is cloud for you. So you can be anywhere connect as long as you have internet access, you connect to the internet and access your cloud environment. You can access it from phones, tablets, desktop, laptops, and servers. And within this cloud environment, you can have your own application being hosted on some of the platform as a service, infrastructure as a service as well. which has to do with infrastructure as a service. When you want to take ownership of your own environment, like you are exposed to compute options, storage option, and network. You also have the platform as a service as well, where you have to use the object storage and or managing the identity and also databases as well. So cloud computing is about when you're able to access information online using the internet. Without internet, there be no, the cloud computing will be fruitless because you will not be able to access what you have in the cloud. So we also have that. Let me read out what is on the screen. I've done the explanation. Please feel free to reach out if you have questions for me, so I'll be able to respond. Sorry, let me get back to where I was going to start from. So, so cloud computing it provide us with a means of accessing the applications and the services, such as it could be something services over the internet. It allows us to create, with cloud computing, you can create, configure, and customize the applications online. Take, for instance, the Microsoft 365 I just mentioned of. Everything is on demand for you. Whenever you need it, you just access it. So it could also come with a lot of flexibility for you to use. You don't need to worry about what you want to, a kind of managing the infrastructure, or sometimes you manage the infrastructure as you kind of managing the infrastructure, and also you don't need to worry about cost, because most time the options are flexible. You can choose to pay as you go, pay based on what you want to use. So it also, computing services include common IT infrastructure such as virtual machines, storage, databases, and networking. You also have cloud services also expand the traditional IT offerings to include things like Internet of Things, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. You are all aware that we are now in the age of IoTs and machine learning and the artificial intelligence, where these services are available to you, accessible to you anytime you want them. And there are a lot of intelligent decision making that have to do with your applications and here and there everywhere. So that's what cloud computing is all about. Having access to access your application online through the use of internet. So we now move down to this other slide that has to do with, in the days of before cloud computing, what happened? We have a lot of things like the mainframe computer that comes out and start of automation in 1950s. We have like localized infrastructure, that things were totally in the local environment. There was nothing like cloud. Then rise of the PC, rise in demand of personal desktop comes into place. That was around 1960s. So we have decentralized computing system come into play. Then birth of IT services industries, like the managed services industry comes into play as well. Then we move down to 1990s. And then you start seeing servers, virtual private network comes in, and demand for high bandwidth starts speaking up. Then the dot-com revolution comes in. Then we move down to 2000. Then we now have what they call hosted environment. We virtualize environment where you have several VMs there hosted, and you're able to manage your IT infrastructure as well. Sourcing also coming into play. Then the emergence of cloud comes in a year beyond 2010 till now. We have had several locations whereby you have to deliver services through infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service, network as a service as well. So we also collaborative computing comes into play, because I and one of you here can be anywhere and collaborate together in the cloud and work, and we have the same best result. So that's one thing about cloud. So we move down to another Section two of the agenda is, okay, hello presenter, please pause. Oh, my slides are not showing up. Okay. Just got to see that. Let me go back to where I can share my screen. So I'm going to reshare my screen. I'll stop sharing and reshare it. Okay. Please confirm if my screen can show up now, if my slides are visible to you all. Okay, so we have the edge of cloud computing. Everything is on demand based on how you need it and when you need it and when you want to access it. So we move down to the second agenda. I've explained all this. Move down to now, we are in the age of Microsoft Azure, which Azure has come to stay and it's not going anywhere. Okay, so we have what is Azure Cloud Computing? Azure regions, we're going to look at it. We are going to also look at hierarchy of organization in Azure. We're also going to look at Azure virtual machines as well. So you haven't said all what we said. So Microsoft Azure Cloud is one of the public cloud computing platform that resources are made available to you on demand through the use of internet. Just the explanation is derived from the meaning of cloud computing in general. So with Azure Cloud Computing, we are exposed to compute option. We also have networking option. We also have the storage. So now, Azure Cloud Computing, a public cloud owned by Microsoft, is a cloud computing platform with an ever-expanding set of services to help you build solutions to meet your business goals. Azure services support everything from simple to complex. You can bring in your app, you can host it on an environment on your own on premises. You can make it. You can request for it to be available to you whenever you need it. So that's what developers are being given several options in the Azure using the Azure App Service platform, Azure DevOps. You have a varieties of tools to build, deploy your application from test environment to the production environment. So you don't have anything to worry about. That is what Azure can offer to you. There are lots of resources, which we are going to talk about some of them. So Azure regions, now you get to know what are regions. Regions, as we speak today, are strategically located, about 60 plus regions as of today, and it's available in over 140 countries of the world. And Azure has looked at it very well that, okay, if you have regions, how about disaster recovery? What about a kind of natural disaster that comes into play when you are least expected, when you think your resources can scale well to serve your business, to serve your users, and there's these resources. So they put in place what they call availability zones. Each of the Azure region has at least 3 availability zones. Should 2 availability zones fail, you can fall back to 1. If 1 fail, 2 will continue to work. So now that takes us to Azure availability zones and region. A region is a geographical area on the planet that contains at least 1, but potentially multiple data centers that are nearby and network together with a low latency network. Now you can see from the screen, the whole of this is a region. Then under it or in it, we have availability zone 1, 2, 3 that are in one region. So each region specific. This is one of the questions that will come. You will find in your AZ900 if you are yet to take it. So each region has at least 3 availability zones, and there's also and that availability zone ensures that there is a a retention of power because it is well equipped with power and everything. So if there is a failure in the whole of the data center, and of course, one of the availability zone will become kind of active, whereby your customers can also be accessing your data and everything. Azure regions and availability zones are designed to help you achieve resiliency and reliability of for your business critical workloads. Each Azure region features data centers deployed within a latency-defined perimeter. Each of them are closely co-located and with a low latency. Latency means slowness in speed. Then they are designed in such a way that you will experience low latency. When there's high latency, there's a tendency that there will be failure in terms of internet connections and the reliability and accessibility as well. So Azure availability zones are physically separate locations within each Azure region that are tolerant to local failures. As I said before, if there's any failure, of course, you can always fall back to availability zones, although they are not free. When you're signing up on Azure, when you're creating resources such as virtual machine, which is most critical, and it is also what you also need so that your virtual machine can also fall back to it, can always fall back to it. You need mostly availability zones. And also there's another one they call availability sets. Availability sets comes under availability zones. Each of your availability set protects your resources from availability zone failure, while availability zones protect your resources from regional failure. That is how you can best explain it. Okay, so we move down to another one. Then hierarchy of organization in Azure. So when you sign up on Azure, I believe we all have an account for Azure. If you do not have account, sign up at the Azure free account, which is free for 1 month. You have stand the chance of getting $200 that will help you to build and test resources on Azure. So we have, first of all, we start with management groups. The management groups is all in all that that helps you to govern your own cloud environment. It helps you to take charge of everything, your subscription, resource groups, resources, and everything within your own Azure cloud environment. So within it, you have the logical resources which help you to hold your resources, which is the subscription. Without subscription, you would not have active resources on Azure. So subscription is that logical unit of your Azure environment, Azure cloud environment, whereby you get to have access to resource, to creating, deploying, and building resources. So resource groups, of course, is the logical folder. Just as you have a folder on your own local system, you create a folder on your desktop, on your C drive, on your local PC. So also you create a folder on Azure. This folder is not just an ordinary folder. It is built within the Azure ARM template, Azure Resource Management template. And it's powerful such that there are no resources that can exist in Azure without having to pass through resource group. And it is more useful in the sense that it helps you to control your costs. For instance, if you create a resources, maybe bundles of resources can create up to 10 resources, and they are in one resource group. When you want to do away with them, when you're done testing, when you're done deploying, when you're done serving your purpose, the simple way is to delete the resource group, and everything in that resource within the resource group will go away, will be deleted. Rather than going one after the other to delete 10 resources through the Azure portal, that will be time consuming, of course, and can affect your business progress in terms of productivity. So the best practice is when you're creating resources that are related to one another, you put them in one resource group. And resources are these tools that are those resources, infrastructure, platform as a service resources, and it could be software as a service as well. That the actual resource that you deploy, actual infrastructure that you deploy, such as virtual machine, virtual network, app service, databases, and Azure function. Those are what you deploy. Then, as this picture here, as this diagram, You see that resource group, house, virtual network, compute option, the virtual machine, Azure App Service, and Azure Database. So all these are in one resource group. I want to delete this, I just delete the resource group, and everything is gone. So these are the hierarchy of organization in Azure. This is when you sign up, the management group serve as your own organization, which is tied to Azure AD, Azure Active Directory, and roles are being assigned, rollback access are being assigned. This is actually beyond the fundamental class, but it's also good that you guys made mention of it. So we move down to another slide. Please, any question you ask. We talked about everything, and now what is this stuff that gives you the flexibility while Azure helping you to manage the infrastructure? It is the virtual machine. Virtual machine comes into play when you talk about infrastructure because it's the core infrastructure. It comes in two images for now. There is no Mac OS on Azure. They have the Windows image and the Linux image. So when you want to take advantage of controlling your environment and at least customizing things to suit your test, your business needs, you go in for infrastructure as a service. That's when Azure VM comes in. You can host a whole bundle of apps that will synchronize with your premises environment and Azure Cloud. So Azure Virtual Machine is an on-demand scalable computer resource that is available in Azure. Just as you have your own PC, you now emulate your PC into the cloud. So therefore, Azure VM can also be seen as emulation of your PC to the internet and make it to be available on demand. And it's accessible anywhere. The pricing option for Azure VM is about 3. We have the spot instant VM pricing option. We also have the pay as you go option. We also have the reserve option. The spot instance is rotational VMs that are available on Azure. A renting VM, you want to quickly deploy a non-critical data. It is always advisable when you're using the spot instant option, you should be mindful of the kind of data you want to deploy. Spot instance is not suitable for a business critical solution because once it goes off, your data will go and there's no backup anywhere. Once there is any vacant spot instance solution, Azure will rent it to another available customer. And you can enjoy up to 70% discount as compared to other plans. So pay as you go is suitable for a small, medium-sized business who wants to test out solutions on Azure. That one, you just target and maybe let's say an e-commerce platform who is getting set for festival period like the Christmas or the festival around the world. You now, I want to sign up for I want to host a kind of application on Azure VM. This is the time I want to use. Define the time. With pay as you go, you can have a predictable pricing option. So I want to spend this. This is my peak moment. This is the peak moment I have. Okay, I want to pay for this, and that is when your VM will run. After the time has exceeded or is exhausted, there will then of course your VM will no longer run. So that is why it is called pay as you go. Then the reserved instance VM option is for large enterprise who has the capital base, the finance capability to at least reserve at least 3 years, pay for 3 years reserve, and they can enjoy up to, I think, 75% discount over those who are paying for this. Though it will take up capital expenditure on the start. You have to pay upfront from the start. So that's how the pricing option works for Azure VM. So we move down to the look and feel of Azure Portal. This one, we're going to do it later because most of the resources, we're going to create them. At least we're going to deploy a VM and log into it remotely and see how it works. So we are going to get to see the look and feel of Azure Portal by ourselves. So now, no screen movement, sir. Oh, apologies. Apologies for this. Oh, my slides is not moving. Oh, guys. Okay, let me move down to let me reshare my screen. I think that will solve the problem of the screen stagnation. So, okay, I'm actually in the slide. Uh, the the okay, I can share screen now. Okay, so I've reshared my screen back, and I don't know if you can see it. See the PowerPoint slide. So your screen is just passing fast. Okay, I will be slow. Apologies. So the look and feel of Azure Portal. Azure Portal, to start with, is a centralized environment where you can create and manage your resources. It's not clear or visible now. Zoom it a bit. Okay. Okay. And let me make it, let me present it. Let me project it. I think it will be more better. Okay, I can see. Okay, good. Okay, so now the look and feel of Azure Portal. Azure Portal is a centralized place where you can manage your resources, create, deploy, and manage your resources. It all starts from you creating, deploy, and manage. Of course, when you create, you don't stop there. You have to deploy it to the customer. You have to also manage after you have deployed to customer. That is the thing. And Azure Portal is one of those that centralized environment whereby you can do all sort of things on Azure. You can create resources, you can create resources, you can do anything that you want to do. Then, though these particular ones I want to mention is just what mentioning is please switch screens. Ah, okay, maybe I need to, it's not visible. I think I actually have issues with my screen. Apologies if I may have to leave and join. I think there's, I might have to leave and rejoin to be able to rectify this. Let me leave and join, okay? I'll be back shortly.
Hi, I'm sorry to interrupt. I think you're on mute.
Okay, I cannot mute myself now. Okay, so as I was saying now, so apologies for the breaking transmission and it's just technical issue. Let me reshare my screen. It's the screen clear now. Okay, is it clear now? So I'm going to move quickly to where I stopped. I'm in the look and feel of Azure Portal. So when we talked about creating solution and deploying solution on Microsoft Azure, Azure Portal is one of the centralized places where you can create, manage, and deploy. Create, deploy, and manage anyway. So another way you can create resources is through the use of a PowerShell and Azure CLI. These are what you need, and you can as well use the SDK or API, REST API as well. So we move down to another side of it, another presentation that has to do with, okay. So we have understanding the shared responsibility. Shared responsibility is simply what I do as a customer and what Microsoft Azure has to do for me. Then when it comes to cloud service type, which has to do with IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. And before now, we all know that everything was on-prem, whereby you manage everything. You're responsible for managing the network, the underlying infrastructure, servers, and everything, patches, OS, and security. We were battling with security and cyber criminals around the world. So thankful enough, through the advent of cloud, Microsoft Azure in particular has taken a huge burden from us. So now looking at what we do, know that the data in the cloud, you are responsible for securing it. That is, Microsoft is responsible for the security of the cloud, and you are responsible for security in the cloud. These two concepts, security of the cloud, simply means that the cloud provider, such as Microsoft Azure, is fully responsible for securing the cloud environment where you host your resources, where you host your infrastructure and your applications, while you are responsible for the security in the cloud. Those are security in the cloud simply means the resources you have in the cloud, such as databases, VM, instance, applications using the app service option. You need to control access to information, data. That is what is here. If you look at the blue option is the customer, so customer duty responsibility, while the light blue is the Microsoft. Then the one that is slide is shared responsibility. So shared responsibility means we now share this stuff, what we share in common between me as a customer and Microsoft. So you are responsible to fully protect your information and data. Not just protecting access to this data and information is key. Do not grant unnecessary privileges. Everybody must be subjected to least privilege. That is standard. Do not give the user excess privilege. Give them the access that is suitable enough, that is okay enough for them to carry out their duty in the cloud, in your environment. In that case, you'll be able to manage the security option. So also mobile devices access to your cloud environment, you are responsible for adding, registering, removing devices. That is done through the mobile device management interface in Azure Active Directory. So accounts and identities, you're responsible for doing that, for adding user, deleting, removing user when they leave your organization and as well. Then what you and Azure is sharing is the identity and directory infrastructure. These two are being shared by Microsoft Azure and the customer. Then responsibility varies by type. If you look at the on-prem, let me talk about the diagram. The blue version, the on-prem, you fully manage those ones by yourself. Nothing concern the cloud provider such as Microsoft Azure, because you own it, you install it, so you are the one managing it. So we have applications are what in the SaaS option, your software as a service, it is fully managed by Microsoft. Your own is to deploy as an administrator. We deploy to customers who use them and all that. Then there are parts in which, like the platform as a service, Microsoft will provide you with the platform as a service, like the app service plan, whereby you bring in your code and host, but you're the one responsible for managing security to your code, ensuring that bugs are fixed at the initial stage, the continuous integration stage, before being deployed. So you're also responsible for network controls. In terms of network controls, Microsoft Azure is fully responsible for software as a service solutions such as Microsoft 365, while you are also responsible for controlling network access, such as utilizing the network security center of Microsoft Azure, whereby you can put in the inbound and outbound deny access to your data on Azure. Then operating system, Microsoft is fully responsible for managing operating system for you in software as a service and platform as a service. Meanwhile, in infrastructure as a service, you are responsible for managing it. So now we have the physical host. Microsoft, of course, is the owner. Then physical network, Microsoft is the owner, and they are fully responsible for it. Physical data center is owned by Microsoft. So these are the way the shared responsibility model, it works on Azure and even cutting across other cloud platforms such as AWS and Google Cloud Platform. So that is that for the shared responsibility model. So we now move down to cloud service models. Okay, so this is very key when you want to play around your own cloud environment. By the time you start making decision, you start from having a private cloud, having this private cloud to yourself. Then let me set that cloud service, cloud models define the deployment type of cloud resources. The three main cloud models are private, public, and hybrid. Now, hybrid environment is where you combine the private and the public cloud together to get what you want. So now a private is suitable for when you want to take ownership and of your cloud environment and data center. When you are responsible for operating the services you provide by yourself, like when you opt for private environment, private cloud model, and does not you don't need access to users outside your organization, such as you can deploy your private cloud environment by no access to any external person. Then public cloud, such as Microsoft Azure, of course, as the name implies, is made available to everybody around the globe. Anywhere you are, you can access it, and it's available for you. Most of the services are paid services. If, as a matter of fact, you have to pay. That's one thing. So the cost is important. So when when we talked about public cloud is owned and operated by organization that uses cloud resources. Is owned by cloud services or hosting providers such as Microsoft Azure and other cloud platforms. Then and provides resources and services to multiple organizations and users. If you look at Azure, has more than, of course, they're available in over 140 countries and over 64 plus regions around the globe, with availability zones scattered around those regions and all that. And they are being accessible to users across the globe via a kind of secured network connection. Typically is over. Let me go back. Of course, okay. So, oh, okay, actually. Uh, okay, I'm here. So we have that, and then the hybrid environment is is when you want to combine both the public and the private cloud. This is very, very, very suitable for big organizations who have business critical data and non-business critical data and wish to push out the non-business critical to the cloud. And while they maintain business critical data such as licensing, password, activation keys on their own data center privately. So we move down to the next slide, which has to do with the comparison of this cloud service model. So having said everything we said, if you look at the public cloud, does not require any capital expenditure to scale up, no capital expenditure at the start. You can sign up and pay as you go. Applications can be quickly provisioned and deprovisioned based on what you need. Just quickly create it, put them in the resource group that you easily delete. Then organization pay only for what they use. Okay, now private cloud is what you hardware must be purchased, everything must be set up, and this is capital expenditure. That's the capex cost comes in terms of capital expense and is no longer operational expenditures compared to the option of public cloud. Then the hybrid cloud is the most flexibility, has the most flexible options for you to operate. You can decide to run today in the public cloud and run to tomorrow in private cloud. That's how that one works. So we move down to the next slide. Okay, types of cloud service in Azure. I've already explained this based on when I was talking about the shared responsibility model. Is infrastructure as a service one of the cloud service type that you have on Azure. I just finished with the cloud model. Then in you with cloud infrastructure as a service, you're able to build pay-as-you-go IT infrastructure by renting servers, virtual machines, storage, networks, and operating systems from a cloud provider such as Microsoft Azure. What you need to do, you are the one to patch OS, install OS, and log in, manage users, and all that. But the underlying infrastructure is being provided for you. Rent it just like renting a house or renting maybe an Uber drive, Uber taxi, something like that. And move when you need it. When you leave the car, you're no longer the owner. So that is how this works. So we have also platform as a service, which is fully managed, some part of fully managed by Microsoft. You're only responsible for building, testing, and deploying your software applications without focusing on managing underlying infrastructure such as the server. You don't patch OS in this. Azure manage the OS for you. So we also have the software as a service. Of course, we have something like a Microsoft 365, which is very popular. Microsoft 365 Dynamics 365. We also have Google Suite and all that. So they're all Skype is all as well, software as a service and all that. So moving down to the next slide, which is the comparison of this cloud service type, you see that the most flexible cloud service is the IaaS option, the infrastructure as a service. Then you configure and manage your the hardware for your application, while the platform as a service focus on application development. Platform management is handled by the cloud provider, that is Azure. Then there's a pay-as-you-go pricing option for software as a service. Of course, you want to buy an E5 license for maybe 5 users, 12 users, depending on what you need. So that is how that works. So you also have the option of users pay for the software they use on a subscription model. And then we have the compare capex and opex. This is capital expenditure and operational expenditure. Of course, we know when you are opting out for private cloud, you are the one responsible. You are, of course, you will incur what is called the upfront spending of money in acquiring the physical infrastructure. Then costs from capex have a value that reduces over time. Yes, because when you buy this item, this equipment, you will no longer go back to buy them maybe in the next 6 years or whatever. Yes, depending on how you maintain it. Every server you deploy on your premises has a lifespan, maybe 5 years. They expired. So spend on product and the operational expenditure is spend on products and services as needed. As you go, get built immediately. The charges are immediate. No going back and coming back. So another one is describe consumption-based pricing model. So in the consumption pricing model, we have it to work very well with Azure function, best cost prediction. Cloud service providers operate on a consumption-based model, which means that end users only pay for the resources that they use. Whatever they use is for what they pay for. Then with consumption-based pricing model, you're able to predict the cost, prices for individual resources and services are provided. Billing is based on actual usage. So this is well adopted when you want to predict your pricing. And that has to do with Azure function and is a part of also Azure App Service. So we move down to cloud benefit. Cloud benefit, of course, is enormous and it goes beyond what we are able to summarize on the screen. You enjoy the level of high availability in your resources. You have the reliability, of course, through the availability zones feature in each of the data center, each of the regions. You are enjoying that reliability. And there's also security. Security is not what Microsoft Azure is joking with. I got to know the idea of zero trust through Microsoft. I have worked with Microsoft for more than 7 years. I've played around Microsoft 365, Microsoft Active Directory. I see that what security is key. At the heart of each cloud resource is the security. Before a cloud resources such as storage or whatever is listed on a public cloud platform, there are some security baseline it must meet globally before it can be allowed to be listed. So security is key. Manageability, it is flexible enough for the end user to manage. Even if you wake up in the morning, you can play around Azure Portal and deploy a resource, and it works for you. There is scalability in the sense that you're able to scale up, scale in, scale out when there is decrease in demand, scale in when there is increase in demand. Predictability, you're able to predict the pricing, how much you want to spend in running or in deploying some resources. Governance, I talked about a management groups, you're able to govern your cloud environment through that feature. So elasticity, of course, the ability for the cloud resource to expand and decrease back when there's decrease in demand is what you can stand to gain in cloud. If you have any question, please, I would like to take them along. So now, having said all this, we need to move down to the demo section and be able to work out some certain things and all that. While this demo section is ongoing, I'm going to drop this knowledge check form so that you'll be able to answer some of the questions in there. So I will see you when we get to the. I'm going to reshare my screen later when I open a web browser. I'm going to drop the form in the chat section. Okay. So let's get the form. We are going to go to Azure Portal to play around it. Meanwhile, the form is the quiz is in the chat section. Check you see it. Please, can the slide be made available to participants? Oh, no problem. The coordinator will do that by adding it to you. So let me go to the Azure Portal straight. Can you see my Azure Portal screen? So this is what I was talking about, the look and feel of Azure Portal. Please be answering the quiz questions so you'll be able to be able to arrive at the answers at once. So now we're going to deploy Azure Virtual Machine. Virtual machine is one of the infrastructure as a service. Someone is saying no, you can't see you can't see the Azure Portal, the tab I am in. Okay, let me go to, let me stop and reach. Please confirm if you can see the Azure Portal screen now. So now we quickly go to, because there's no way, there's no time. These are dashboard, and we already have some recent resources lining up here. So in your own case, if you are entering Azure Portal and you don't have these resources lined up in this place, like I have virtual machine, go in there and search for it. If you search virtual machines, of course, you're going to see them coming out. You're going to see virtual machine here. So another way you can access it is come to this three lines, create a resource. When you create a resource or you scroll down, virtual machine is here. So I'm going to pick it directly from here because I have it already there. So now the first thing first is to create resource group. Virtual machine. Click on virtual machine. The resource group creation will come in when we are deploying it. So it will take me to this interface. Oh, sorry, I'm going to switch the directory. I do not have active subscription on this particular subscription. I'm switching the directory to another subscription. Apologies. So that will come up immediately. So I have my own virtual machine here. I'm going to click on it and it take me to this place. I will click create. That will take me to this place. My subscription is the logical product that is here, that's holding all my resources. Then this is the logical folder, the resource group. If you do not have anyone on the group, in the list, which I have a lot of them, but I'm going to create new one, create new. I'll provide a name. I'll call it demo-rg. RG meaning resource group, just to demonstrate that. Then the VM name must be unique. Depending on the best practice is to create it according to your application, to what you want to deploy, so that it will be easy. This is a VM demo class, VM demo class. It's the name of my VM. So the resource, of course, you always scale this based on the resources, based on the region that is closer to your users. It is very, very important that VM be placed in a region that is closer to your users. If it's closer to your users, we have no problem in terms of data center failure. So I'm going to put it in West US. So in this place, availability option, this is what I was talking about. You can select availability sets, then availability scale sets. Availability sets will protect the VM failure, the VM from availability zone failure. So we are not going to pick any option. Of course, we're going to use Windows the image. So I'm going to go for data center 2019. And you now see that the security option, leave it as standard and all that. So the VM name, which is the name you are going to be logging in with, can use demo VM. Take note of the name. Then the password, choose the password that is most suitable for you, password you can remember, but must be unique. So I have that. Now you have to allow this port, RDP port 338, the remote desktop protocol port. And another one, if it's Linux, you allow the SSH secure shell. If you want to host a web application such as Nginx, Apache, IIS, Internet Information Service, you need to enable port 80, port 443, and this is not Linux, of course, but we are not going to enable this. We're going to leave it for RDP alone. So mark this. The disk size is also very important. You can leave it at premium, locally redundant, which is the recommended, or you can take it to standard is also good for you. But I'm leaving it at the premium option. Then the encryption, leave it at default. Platform manage encryption key. That is the best. That's the recommended option. Then we move down to the networking blade. Of course, Azure will create automatic networking option for you, a virtual network attached, but it's basic. You can take it to advanced, but be mindful of the cost. The higher the option, the kind of the security option, the higher the cost. So move down to there. Management option. Now enable system and manage this thing. No, it's not necessary. So leave it at default. Monitoring. You can put a monitoring solution, enable with managed storage account. Yes. Then advanced. Then I didn't talk about tag. Tag is the value name pair that enable you to identify your resources on Azure. Tag, you can add it, demo, then the value could be VM, demo VM. So that is how it works. Then you review and create. I'm saying invalid something they're failing. That means there's some information that makes out of this basics option. Let's see what is happening. Oh, I didn't confirm this. So that does it. So review now and create. So after the validation process, I'll click on create. So I'll create it now. And for the subscription, Azure also provides what is called sandboxes for you to enable you to build and test the resources on Azure. And you can access that by going into the modules in AZ900. I think the module 2 has some of the sandboxes whereby you can play around. Can also migrate to AZ4 104 and have some of those things, those sandboxes. For now, I think I do not have any free Azure subscription, but should I have in the future, I will send that across to someone that will score 10 over 10 in this form. I believe you all are answering the question. And all that. So now we move down to so my VM is being deployed. The deployment is in progress. Deployment is in progress. Because of our time, we won't be able to create the Linux VM. Creating Linux VM is still the same process. The only thing you need to do is to select the image that has to do with Linux, such as Ubuntu distribution, Red Hat Enterprise distribution, and all that. And open the port SSH port 22. That is the port that you have to use to establish connection to your VM. But let's see if we can meet up by deploying the two VM today before, oh, it's almost time. Okay, so let's say I want to go back to deploy Linux VM. Oh, this is ready. This is ready. The first VM is ready. Now let's see something there. I can go to resource from here, but let me close this because I've already opened it. This is a VM blade. This is VM blade. The VM blade. From here, overview tab, we expose it to the details of the VM. This is the disk size, 8 gig memory, 2 VC PUs, and all that. So we also have this stuff. All the detail that you need are here. You can resize your VM disks through the disk option. You can resize it from the disk option. Let's check that. Okay. Another way, disk option size, disk size can resize it if it's not enough for you. Now, another way of connecting to Azure, we go to connection. We have 3 options here. With Windows VM, you can use RDP or Azure or Bastion. The Bastion option is a web-based connection, whereby you get to access your VM through the a browser tab such as Chrome or Microsoft Edge. So we are going to go with our DP connection. Click on our DP connection. Then on your local system, you go to your local system, search for our DP, and click and open it. Now, if you cannot find it in the local system, you can Azure also provide you a way of downloading it directly from Azure Portal. You can download it from there. So let me do it like this. Let me share my entire screen so you get to see everything I'm doing. So I'm sharing my entire screen so you get to see everything I'm doing. Can you see this RDP, remote desktop, that I click and it come out? This is the RDP I have. So I have to go to this place and copy my what's it called? I'm going to go to this place and copy the public IP address because that is what I'm going to use in connecting. So we have that. And going to this place, I copy my own public IP address, come to this place and paste it. Then click on connect. It will ask you for the username. Go to a new account because already I'm logged in with the username is VM, demo VM. That is our username. Then password is the one that I supplied then. So you now click connect. When this prompt comes in, you can click don't ask me again. You can say yes and continue. Then Microsoft Azure also give you option to reset your password. In case you forget your password, you can always come to properties. Let's see something. You can always come to the VM blade under, let's see, you can reset passwords. Let's see property, what happened there. Okay, property simply show the status of what you need to do. Then we have reset password option. If you want to redeploy and reapply, you can do that by redeploying it. Remind you, it will disconnect it will disconnect your VM. You can see my VM now. So I'm into my VM now, right now. My virtual machine is up. So if you are a server administrator, which is another language for the day, for another day, you can go to, yeah, right, quite. I have more resources to share. Under this slide, there's more resources for you. Link to learn more. Let me copy this and paste in the chat section so you can learn more. So now I am into my own VM now. Go ahead and add rules and features such as the DC, domain name, Azure Active Directory, and all that. And configure server. This is another thing for configure Active Directory. Service release. These are not what we need to. Okay, you need to install the Active Directory domain name, service, enable DNS, enable the DSCP, then for you to be able to create users and manage them, add them to organization and all that. You can install the web server and this thing. But since we did not open port 80 and this thing, so we will not install web server. So you go ahead and install these things, just as you will manage your own server that you buy with your money on premises and all that. This is what Azure VM can also enable you to do. As you can see that we are installing our rules. So this is what we have and all that. So that is that for creating Azure VM using the window image. I believe it's clear. Please, if you have any question, can you paste the form again? Which of the, is it the quiz form or the attendance form? Peter. Okay, so we have that, and this is time for question briefly, because we have deployed the VM. You've seen how we deploy, how we can remotely log in and all that. So I would like to take question. Okay, the quiz form, let me share that. Okay, while that is being done, I'm going to quickly share the screen to the quiz. To the quiz. So I will see how many people have got it right. And so that, okay. I paste the link again for the form, for the quiz. Okay, it has been pasted. I can see, okay, you can see it now. Okay, right. So now I'm going to go back to the form. I'm going to click that form link and open it, so we can answer the question one after the other by everyone. Who scored 10 over 10? If you scored 10 over 10, please indicate by saying yes, or indicate your score. Please, can you send us the resources by email? A link to the resources will be provided to my SharePoint directory, and you are going to have that link, and through the organizer will send that to you. Oh, someone John have 9 over 10. Congratulations, you almost got it right. So I want to see more person score. Okay, so we will go ahead and review that together. So number one is, excuse me, what is cloud computing? We said that is about you delivering this solution over the internet. Abby, it's not delivery of storage services over the internet. It's not delivery of website accessible via the internet, but delivering of computing services over the internet. If you got it right, that's a bonus for you. Then, which of the cloud model uses some data center focus on providing cloud services to anyone that wants them, and some data centers that are focused on a single customer? How can you, what is the question? Someone have 6 over, oh, okay, 6 over 10 is fair, pass mark. 8 over 10, congrats. Okay, Jima. Okay, so now we have a, if you have this, what will you say is the answer? When you focus on which cloud model uses some data center focus on providing cloud services to anyone that wants them, and some data centers that are focused on a single customer, which of them? Oh, wow. Okay, so it's a hybrid. So according to the shared responsibility model, which cloud service type places the responsibility on the customer? Who will answer this? Oh, I ask. Great. I ask. So we have, which of the following can be used to manage governance across multiple Azure subscriptions? Which of them? Who has that? Nobody. Oh, wow. Management group. Yeah, right. So which of the following features does not apply to resource groups? The one is role access control. Role-based access control can be applied to resource group. Resources can be in only one resource group. And what again? Nested. Yeah, you are right. Resource group can be nested. Which of the following statement is a valid statement about an Azure subscription? Using Azure does not require a subscription. Is that true? No. An Azure subscription is a logical unit of Azure services. None of the above. Logical service, right. So we have, which type of scaling involves adding or removing resources such as virtual machines or containers to meet demand? Who has this? Anybody have 10 over 10? Nobody? Okay, horizontal scaling. What is characterized as the ability of a system to recover from failures and continue to function? How will you predict this? Reliability, you're right. Oh, someone have 10 over 10, congrats. Which cloud service type is most suited to a lift and shift migration from on-premises data center to a cloud deployment? Which of them? Anyone with answer? No one? Okay. You're right. So what type of cloud service type would a finance and expense tracking solution typically be in? Of course, we know that they will always go for such as Dynamics 365 works for that. Okay, so we submit it, view our result. We have 9/10. So that means there's one. Okay, is the design of this supposed to be is horizontal? Maybe this wasn't. But at the time of preparing this didn't check. It wasn't checked to score automatically. Review means the person constructing the form will go back and review that. So if we have it 10/10, it's horizontal, of course. Number 7 not provided. Number 7 not provided. I don't understand that. Okay, the instant score. Yes, instant score is horizontal scaling. Horizontal scaling. If you go to okay, now let's check. So let me also do something for you. Okay, coming. So the knowledge check is I have 51 responses. So 51 people participated. So this one wasn't checked. If this was checked, it will give us the answer automatically. So if you go back to this place and do it again, it will give you answer. So okay, we have come to the end of this section today, and thank you very much. Please, I missed the attendant. Okay, thank you very much, Sre, for having me, and thank you to all the attendants for coming, and have a nice day.
Thank you, Imo, for the session. I hope you guys have learned something new about the Azure, and I hope you guys have the basic idea of what he was saying. And yeah, and thank you all for joining. And I would like to remind you guys that there is attendance form. I hope you guys have filled it, and we'll be sending out the certificate of participation to all the people who is filling out the attendance form, and the recording will be available in our YouTube channel, which I'll be sharing in a short time.
Before
And
I
thank you,
go,
Imo. Yeah,
you can
yeah.
connect with me on LinkedIn. You can connect with me on LinkedIn and Twitter, and I'm going to paste the link on the chat. And also the Twitter site is the username is here. Okay, see you guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.